That was the only change, although we'll have to change it again depending on what the benefit structure ends up being here. Is there any any more pros and cons on the 3-year contract? I know Jim had some
I did have
comments.
some questions on it. It's a 3-year contract, which I don't mind signing a multi-year contract, but I guess my question is, I still would like to have the annual evaluation. Is there anything in there as far as like cost of living, or visiting like vacation time, or anything like that?
I can tell you what we do with city contract is that we do have a multi-year contract with our city manager and an annual evaluation, and also at the time of evaluation, we can make a request for a cost of living increase should we feel it necessary, or increased vacation, and that would be the time on an annual review. Catherine, am I correct on that?
Yeah, and you can always make
Adjust.
changes. You can adjust it based upon whatever the board wants.
And is that language in the contract that annually you can review cost of living and vacation policy, that kind of stuff?
I don't know that that's actually in the
It's not
contract.
in there.
Which in the city manager's contract or in his contract?
No, in this contract.
I
The
don't
question
think-
was for this contract.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything
And I don't
in
know
this
that it's
contract.
actually a
I would say it
contractual.
might be a good idea
Well,
to.
it's not in this contract. Is it in the city manager's contract?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember.
No, it's not. I mean, an annual review with the date set is, and at that time, it's, I guess, just sort of, I don't know.
So what's the point of a multi-year contract then if you're going to review everything annually?
I'll ask your city manager then. Get your boss.
I'm just saying for this one,
And I'm asking, and I'm telling you for this one, there's not a problem with the multi-year contract.
just have to amend the language to add that.
Yep.
So somebody needs
The
to
only,
tell me what to add.
the only comment I made, and I don't know who I made it to, was that if you have a multi-year contract, he signs this 3-year contract, that means that if for some reason the city does not provide funding to the DDA specifically for that salary in a particular year, you're on the hook to pay that. I mean, we've signed a contract, so obviously we have to pay, but I'm just saying that if the funding's not there from the city, we'd have to figure out how to pay that salary.
Is our
That's-
funding reviewed annually?
Yes.
Yeah, the city,
Is there a benefit to the multi-year contract for Jim?
I think the part of the discussion was that, guaranteed, gave him some guarantees.
So we had no guarantee.
No, we don't.
Can we
don't
add
have any
guarantees?
guarantees.
Provide a guarantee.
Yeah,
we
I
guarantee.
personally don't see the need for the 3-year contract, but we talked about that last month. So,
I mean, unless you want to make it a guarantee based and then write in the language.
A
based on
contingency.
law.
that it's not
Right,
really
yeah.
guaranteed.
Correct, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is
That's
that
right.
we will make the guarantee to you as long as we are continually granted,
I don't see how that's really a benefit then to, why would you engage in that kind of contract? Because
we can't afford
it doesn't, that doesn't make any sense, and I don't think it makes there's no any benefit to Jim at that point.
No,
then.
there isn't.
What I would like to do though is hold the executive board accountable to the annual review date and make sure that it's done prior to the date, so that we don't run into what we've run into the last couple of years.
I agree with that.
Well, and I think, this is my comment from the last time we talked about this, I don't understand why the executive committee is only doing the evaluation.
So
Why
that needs
is
to
it,
be done and then presented
Right.
to us,
What I-
discussion, and then presented to Joe.
yeah, I think everybody needs to complete an evaluation. Maybe the executive committee that takes all that information, digests it, puts forth an analysis of what it looks like, and then comes back to us with comments. But I think that the entire board should be providing feedback for the position.
Agreed.
I agree with that, but again, my point was that based on my experience, that hadn't been done in the past. So we didn't, at least those 2 or 3 years
don't-
prior, to that. It had not been done. I guarantee it had not been done. So at the time we were doing that, that wasn't a consideration. So I think really the proper way to do this is if we're gonna do an annual review, let's say in May, to bring this to the table in February, March, and say, okay, Jim's annual review is up. Here's the format of the review, and let everybody comment on that at that time. Finish the review, finish that portion, make sure, because that document we've been using is kind of old and it's a little tedious and it's not always relevant. And so maybe we need to look at that entire process and get feedback from the board on that, and then approve the basis of the annual review, do the annual review, and make sure that the whole board is involved in the annual review.
I can tell you, I just was in the process of moving my office. So not that you care about that, but in the process of doing that, I found like a huge stack, I have a pack rat, I guess, a huge stack of all my stuff from the DDA from like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. So I had literally a folder that has not only all the contracts for Jim since the beginning, but I actually have a copy of, I believe, all the evaluations we did when Dan was, Austin Toxby was chair. So I can provide that information to the executive committee so that you have that to review, and maybe we can somehow provide input to be able to make a better evaluation. Because I know we when I was before I got the city commission and I was on here, I know we did do the evaluations with the executive committee. I think we met at the bowling alley actually, and did one. So anyway, I have all the information if you want me to share it.
Yeah, I think that came from Tom Benton, came up with that format.
But we changed it. We did actually
After
modify that
did we?
evaluation. We did. So I actually even have it on my computer in a format that I could share via whatever. I have WordPerfect, but I can convert it so I can share it.
So back to the contracts, what do we want to do with this?
I also think, Tim, if I could too, like you just said, I think it's great. I think we should all be involved in the evaluation. But also, I think we should also be to look at the contract, because like we're just talking like, we're talking right now, what was there in there? I think we should all look at it. So we can answer those questions to.
It's in your packet.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You haven't
Yeah.
responded to me. You told me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree.
So can we attach it to the next month's agenda if we're gonna have one? I don't know if we're gonna have one. Oh, no, I'm not gonna be here.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but I mean, I'm just saying it because it's Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if we're gonna actually have a DDA meeting or
We
not.
do have one in November. We canceled the December one.
Okay. So in November, you could
It's
attach
the
it.
day
And,
before Thanksgiving.
yeah, you could review it at that time.
Well, do we have some sort of consensus on the 3-year
Well,
plan?
the reason that I made the motion for a 3-year also was that there shows a commitment from this organization to our employee that we are committed. And that as an organization, we are committed to come up with the funds, whether or not the funds are available from the city to the DDA, but that at some point we are going to have to grow up and learn how to run a business, which this really is. We have an employee, we have obligations. And so I feel that, I'm sort of embarrassed, frankly, by how this contract has been handled. And honestly, that has made our employee feel not so great. And that's something that we can't afford to do. And I'm sorry we're having this conversation in front of him. However, I think there's truth to it. So either we are going to be a DDA and continue to run business and continue to fund this position, or we have some serious other questions to ask. Are we not? Are we not committed? We're talking 3 years. We're not talking 20.
I just know from our reporting, talking to Elmont DDA, one of the reasons they're without a director again. And the issue was there, it's like the 1 year, that was one of the issues within the discussion is that's not a lot of security in that. And so they're having a hard time keeping and retaining. with a 1 year, because
I
you
read that, and I'm not disputing that, but what I got out of what I read in the paper was that it was a part-time position and they needed to go to full.
yeah, but there was,
There was some
I'm just-
other,
that's the other background here. But the other thing, to Tony's point, I mean, I supported that as well. I think in addition to that security under your foot, and for all of us in the community, I think that's also for the director, whether it's Jim or anybody else, it shows you, okay, I've got 3 years, to our mission, I can continue knowing, when I write these grants, seek these things. So there's a continuity that, you have this, the director can continue this work. I think with thinking, knowing I will be doing this or being part of it for 3 years. I just think that's just good business to have that sort of.
Let me play devil's advocate and ask, what's his commitment then to us, and what's the ramifications to him if he decides to break the contract?
Depends
Is
on
there
what's
a
written in the
non-compete?
contract.
Is there a non-compete in there? Can there be a non-compete?
I don't think there's a non-compete in there.
No, and there's language about ending the contract, terminating it, I think.
Usually there's a with cause and without cause for both sides.
I think we need to look at the contract.
Yeah.
We all need to
So-
see what we're doing and make sure we understand. And I think, to your point, I think maybe we need to put something in there to make us more comfortable that it allows us to look and allows Jim to look at his, to have us not only have it an evaluation, but to have it reviewed for cost of living. I just think there needs to be something that is in there, but I think we all need to look at it because everybody's kind of questioning what's in it. And until we see it, I think it doesn't make sense to sign it. And I'm not opposed to a 3-year. I'm just pointing out the fact that if we sign a 3-year and we don't get city funding for the position, whether we're in year 1, 2, or 3, we'll be on the hook. And if we're on the hook, I guess that's okay, but I just want to make sure that everybody understood that.
well, so do we want to add that language for the annual review before we review this thing?
I think we all need to look at it.
I think we all
Well,
need to
but that's
look
what
at
I'm saying, that's my question, is do we want to add that language in the 3 year, then review it? Or do we want to review it as it is right now, as Kim set it up, which is, the only change was the 3 years.
Right, the only thing I changed was the expiration date.
But I think there's so many new people on here, they've not seen the contract.
Yeah.
So I think everybody needs to see the contract.
Okay, but my question is, I'd like to have the contract in front of us to either approve or not approve.
Right.
And we're gonna go in this circle again if we don't have, for example, the annual review language in there or whatever language. I mean,
If we're gonna
Get
make
this
changes
finished.
anyway, I almost think we review it as is and then give input, because if we're
well,
gonna
we've
make
been
changes.
doing that for a year and a half. I'm trying to bring some finality to this, at least the contract language.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that you're gonna have a finality at this meeting, but I do.
No, we're not.
But I recommend that we might consider an emergency meeting, in addition to a regular board meeting, one that is specific for the board of directors, so that we can then move forward in a quick manner. So what my recommendation,
I don't know if you can have, what do you mean specific for the board of directors? DDA meetings or public meetings?
that's fine.
Okay,
What I'm asking is that the board of directors needs to consider reconvening between the board meetings to handle this business.
okay.
I'm good with that.
Well, but to throw another monkey wrench into this, we're still negotiating on benefits. So we can't put anything in there in the contract till we know where we're at with that. So, we can review it with the 3 year and the annual review, but then we're gonna open up this discussion again when we figure out
I
what's
thought the city
going on.
commission said no.
No, I haven't said anything.
So at the last meeting, there was Mike Nolan said they looked into if we would be in the right to waive the Cobra Light loan, so that was at 14.4.
But you haven't voted on it, have you?
We have not made an official vote on it. It has been presented that we can forgive the 14.4 amount in the Cobra loan. It has also been disclosed that the city cannot pay for employee benefits, nor will they.
Why is that?
That actually our arrangement with you is that the funding that comes from the city to the DDA is not to be paid to an employee, that it is for economic development, which can be argued that.
Okay, so I didn't know that, but then my next question is, and the discussion was, can he be added to the city's benefit package, which he can.
My understanding is,
eligible.
yes, but the question is then, who is going to pay for it, and we are not.
Well, then if you're, okay, so then we've got
But
to
it has not
decide
been
how.
officially voted on. I feel like I'm talking out of turn.
Yeah, it has been voted.
It has not been voted on. But it is clearly understood that we will not pay
Okay,
for his benefits.
okay, that was the main question.
And I've been told the agreement will need to be modified before the next budget year for the funding. That'll have to be amended,
For what?
because that runs through the planning.
Oh, you mean for the loan?
The agreement between the city and the DDA for their funding, the executive director position will need to be amended before the next budget year.
Tony, are you saying that the money that we get from the city is not supposed to be used for wages? Is that
That is correct.
okay? And so the holdup on the 3-year contract, was that due to the money from the city for the wages? Is that what we're talking
No.
about? Different thing.
It's
Okay,
gonna-
that's what I was trying to
And what I think we need to understand is that while the city does provide X amount of dollars to the DDA, however the DDA sees fit to massage the figures within their budgets, we just need to be very clear that what the city is providing is toward economic development to the DDA.
So I have a question then. So if the city commission, and we don't know if it's gonna happen, if they were to forgive that lighting loan, and all of a sudden that money was freed up because we were not making those payments,
4,800 per year.
right? And we utilize that towards benefits for Jim. Is the city saying that you can't go in that direct, I mean, it's still not acceptable, or we can utilize that
No,
money for
That's a
whatever we want?
forgiveness of loan, two separate pieces of paper.
Okay. Do you have a feeling of where that's at, that forgiveness of a loan? I mean,
It has not been discussed, it has not been voted on, but I feel confident that we could do that. How political is that?
It's not off the
Yeah,
table.
I don't want to ask you if the votes are there, that's an appropriate question, but
I feel I think it would have the necessary support to forgive the 14,000. I feel confident.
That was my impression too.
And I
Okay,
think
so
too, I think-
basically with Jim's, this is a whole different discussion, but I guess it pertains to the contract. As regards Jim's benefits, then the only question is gonna be, what do we provide and how do we provide it? Because now the city's saying they can't pay, that answers a huge question that we've had. And I'm assuming the city will vote on that and say, no, we can't pay for it. So now we can at least move forward and try to decide what we're gonna do with it. We can either buy it on the marketplace, or we can request the city add Jim to their group policy, and then we reimburse the city for Jim's benefits. That's the way I see it. So at least we've gotten to that point that we know who is or who is not paying.
Are we able to get from the city a benefit summary of their insurance plan and the cost so that we can compare what would be on the marketplace for the same price?
we'd already gotten.
It's just, your timing has
Gotcha.
prevented that, so maybe we could provide it to you.
Oh, and I guess in a general, bigger conversation too, you guys, and maybe, Tony, I think you were making that suggestion, maybe is, and I think we should have it in the room, is that, I don't know if the characterization is whether it's from the city to up to the DDA, that DDA has to be, or maybe should be moving forward to be self-sustaining, so that, that salary and
Well, that's a whole different discussion.
it is.
And I'll just preface that by saying, of the tens of thousands of DDAs in the country, one is self-sustaining. And that's because they've got a huge sugar daddy.
No, I agree, but I guess I just want I don't know if we should have that kind of clarification with the city, like to your point, I mean, you know, whether they get into a budget issue and they say, we're not gonna give you 50 this year, or none at all.
I mean, we would not
I
have the
would doubt that
50,000.
would ever happen, but I guess we should.
I think it's-
If that's important, then maybe, you know, because it's, well, then raise your millage rate or whatever. I mean, all uncomfortable things, but I guess if that's, we should just be aware of our environment and.
To Tony's point, though, I think it is important to have this separate meeting between now and the next meeting, because I do think there's too much important conversation here to deal with this and then still get to all the rest of our agenda. I mean, it's 8:23 right now, and we haven't got to the next step. So I think we need to have a separate meeting where we can actually delve into this. We can have a contract ahead of time, and we can talk about what's in there, so we make sure we're all happy and that we know what we're going to be putting in the contract. That's what my
I have one quick question of, who is a member of the executive board?
Myself, Dan, Bailey, and we just lost one this morning.
Who's that?
And Jeannie.
Jenny resigned this morning.
So,
And was there, in the email that you sent, was there a question posed in the email that needed to be responded to, or did just no one respond?
I just updated it as you requested it, sent it to the executive committee.
I thought everybody,
I would
when
assume
read
you were
it, I
gonna
thought
talk to Jim
everybody got
about it.
so.
I mean, can we do this 2 weeks out from today? And then is that enough time for us to look at it and then meet and get this done?
That would be the 7th. Wait, I'm
You were not gonna be
sorry.
able, this is the day before the election, this
Oh.
building is on,
I won't be there.
it'd be unavailable the 8th and probably the 9th.
I won't be available at any day that week.
Okay, so what about the 16th?
So that's a week before the regular meeting, the 16th, Wednesday.
But it's still before, so.
What about the 10th? Or
10th is
do we push it and say, well, what about next week? And we cut off, we do it a weekend. I mean, if we have the document,
The 2nd?
I won't be available either week, so, I mean, if you don't care if I'm not here, I'm good. Everybody decide.
we would need, well, is,
The vice chair is the one.
the
who's
vice
resigned.
chair who's resigned.
Who
and
we
then-
don't have.
Who we don't have, number
So who's
one.
next in
Number
line?
two,
I think
we
that
need
makes
to
Bailey
ensure that
next
there
in
is a
line.
quorum. Next in line would then go to
The treasurer, I think.
Oh, the treasurer.
which is Dan.
How many people can be at the 2nd is the question, I think. To make sure we have enough people that, actually would make it worthwhile to have the meeting.
Well, we could have it the meeting of the week of the 14th. I mean, we're just trying to get this done before the next meeting, right?
Yes, the answer is yes. We're trying to get it done before the next meeting. It just, I feel that once we leave this room, there is a lack of urgency on people's parts to get things accomplished.
Well, I don't disagree with that at all. So if we agree on a date, everybody here agrees on a date, you're giving your tacit agreement to attend the meeting and read the contract.
Could we do Friday the 4th before the election? Would the building be available then?
Probably. Yeah, I don't think she'd have to, I'd have to check if she has training or anything for workers still.
Quick question, because it is a public meeting, do we have to give 2 weeks notice?
18 hours.
18 hours, okay.
Okay, so we got the 2nd, the 4th, and the 16th. We gotta pick a date. I'm actually good with all of them as long as I can be here for an hour on the 4th. The 2nd, I can be here whenever. And the 16th, I'm good too.
I'll just stay with all of those days.
I'm good for all as
I'd be
well. I
good.
prefer the 4th.
The Fridays are easiest for me, but I'm the newest, so don't.
Well, doesn't matter, new or old.
I'm good.
The
I can do it now.
16th would be the day the packet for the meeting would be going out the next day, so. could be included in the packet.
That wouldn't give us a lot of time to review it though. Well, we're
Well,
not
I
gonna have time
can
to.
get it, I mean, if you're just saying add an annual review date in May, the annual review is to be conducted in May, everything else remains the same, I can get that out to you tomorrow, email to the board.
Meet it, all right.
So when we do the 16th and the 8th? Or should I make a motion to that?
Is the 16th good with everybody?
Yes.
16th it is.
So special meeting to review the executive director's proposed contract is how I should post it?
All right. Next time, item on the agenda is committee reports and minutes. That's in your packet. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at that. Subcommittee business. Jim, was there any subcommittee business?
The only thing just to, and it is outlined in your packet, but I will touch base on the date for a board retreat later on, but I did just want to go over, real quick, the design committee did meet to start putting together projects for the next 3 to 5 years. And amongst those projects, they included continued updates of the planters downtown, switch over to more perennial flowers, restore the cupolas, and just kind of make them so that they look nice year round as opposed to just throughout the summer. They also included making sure we start looking at parking lot improvements for the parking lot to the north side of Epsom Street, which would include like dumpster enclosures, making it more pedestrian friendly. Obviously, of course, the community pavilion, continue working on that. And then also, one that keeps coming up would be like the decorative lighting or more ambiance for the downtown or part along those lines. So the other one that I added on there after our meeting last month was the electronic vehicle charging stations as well. So I just wanted to make sure everybody sees that because I think it's worth visiting at our board retreat when we have it. If that'll allow me to start looking at numbers and putting together numbers for some of those projects so we can start planning and having those conversations with Canary Consulting. Any questions or feedback on that? Okay.
Okay, Center for the Arts, Jill.
There are 2 more weeks to see the Pauline Southworth show in the gallery. On November 8th, the annual Lapeer Art Association Holiday Show will open. The reception for the holiday show is on November 11th from 5 to 7. We had a wonderful reception for Pauline Southworth. Very well attended. I hope the same is true for the holiday show. Gallery classes. The private wheels rowing classes are back on for Wednesdays and Fridays. Upcoming gallery classes include abstract water class on November 5th, Imagination and Core class for adults on November 12th. The Lapeer Photography Club will be having a black and white class on November 19th, Bob Ross painting class on November 18th, and a private wine glass painting party on November 17th. The virtual youth theater show of Dracula is now available on our website and our YouTube channel. We are currently offering a youth writers lab, playwriting and screenwriting, and a virtual monologue class. We just finished this round of in-person youth acting classes, and Generation Arts is meeting on Wednesdays combined with an improvisation class. In the Pics in October, it was a very busy month. The Pics showed the movie Practical Magic as part of the Baubles and Broomsticks. This event was not well attended. It was not like the previous years at all. The following night, October 1st, was the band family tradition. I had many complaints about Nipissing Street in front of the Pics being closed. And attendance was down on that as well. October 8th, we had Rocky Horror, and attendance was up from last year. The Silver Series, we had Steve Floyd. It was a Broadway show. Attendance was also up from last year. Same was true for Nerf Wars. Baffling Bill the Magician, the numbers were on par with last year. On October 21st, we had a community project called Scary Stories, which Jim took part on. And it did really well. Attendance exceeded our expectations. On the 22nd, we had Jonathan Rand, author of the Michigan Children's Books. It was a benefit for the Lapeer County Animal Shelter, and we raised over $600 for them. And we have tree walk coming up this Saturday. In November, we have the Lapeer County prosecutor is renting it for November 2nd. And then we have the Chatfield Talent Show on November 8th, 9th, and 10th. November 5th is Simply Queen. And the afternoon of November 9th, the Silver Series, we have Comedy of Gary Gleason. November 12th, we have magician Jonathan LaChance with guest Jim Alt. November 18th, the 816 experience, we're having night school, and it's nights as in Knights of the Round Table. So it will be chivalry, and they'll get to play with swords. It's basically an introduction to stage combat, but they don't know that. And they have a good time, and they get to be on stage. And then we have November 19th, we have the Velveteen Rabbit in the afternoon, and the evening, the comedy of Jeff Leeson. After that, Lapeer Community Theater will move into the Picks for their December show, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. The combination of the shows at the Picks, the classes, the visitors, and the opening reception, over 1,000 people visited the Center for the Arts so far in the month of October. Last week, I attended the Michigan Presenters Meeting in Lansing. This is a group of theaters ranging greatly in size, but that are primarily presenting theaters. And overall, audience numbers are down in Michigan, and they're down in the rest of the country. Most venues, including Wharton Center, Midland Center for the Arts, and Macomb Performing Arts Center, are down almost to the 25% mark. Currently, in the Picks, we're down about 10% to 15%. We're not quite, we're doing quite well compared. This is down from 2019. 2019 was a good year. Going to things like that, it was very good taking myself out of the picture. It's a real eye-opener to remind me how incredible it is that a community the size of Lapeer, that we are not a tourist attraction, has a gallery and a theater at the Center for the Arts. Colleagues were impressed with the amount of programming we have, the quality of programming we have, and it's something that I think I've come to take for granted. So it was really good to see through someone else's eyes, to have them see our brochure and go, wow, this is really great. Where's Lapeer? So they have no idea where we are, and these are people from Macomb and Lansing, and I'm happy to do this. But just to see the art programming through their eyes, and the fact that Lapeer does have this. There were other theaters there that called themselves rural, and I'm like, yeah, you're up north, but you have a huge tourist industry, and their seasons are in the summer. And they also have theaters that have 1,200 seats. One had 750. But yeah, so it was good to get out and see it from the outside.
Good. Thanks, Jill. And if anybody hasn't been down and seen the show that's at the Picks right now, it's really amazing. Pauline is a local artist, and you would be amazed at the diversity and the talent of what she's got, what she's showing down there. We should have people coming up every day from south of here to see that.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage people to get in there and take a look at it before it's too late. Okay, next item, staff report, Jim.
And to start, I'll just reiterate that Pauline is now a nationally published artist. She just had her work covered, can't remember the magazine that it was.
Acrylic painting.
Acrylic painting, which is carried, major bookstores and whatnot across the country. She just featured In that, with a nice multi-page spread, she won awards up at the Shiawassee Art Center. So yeah, definitely if you have a chance to get down there and check out her work, we're fortunate to have an artist of that caliber in our community and part of what we're doing.
Before we move on, do we have any final budgets or numbers from your last quarter?
No, they have to go through our full board and you'll get those next month.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, most of, you have your board packet, read through there, but a few things I want to touch base on. The main one being this Friday at 10 a.m., we have our national accreditation call. This is with Michigan Main Street and National Main Street. And it will be to go through the community self-assessment that we worked on at board meetings throughout the summer. So again, I can't stress how important this call is. And here's the thing. They provided, and it's in your packet, they provided the evaluation to all of you, and they have included under each standard the questions that they're going to plan on asking. I will be on the call, but I am not allowed to talk, which means they're going to be looking for feedback from all of you at the board. So again, read through that evaluation, read through those standards, and look at what their questions are, so you're prepared to answer. So with that, do you want me to touch base on some of these right now, where they have us ranked as not achieving the standards? Yes. Okay. So on standard 1, right now they have us, which is broad-based community commitment to revitalization. They have us that not meeting the standard. And even on our own scores, we were pretty close to being right around 3. So their questions are, what challenges with developing partnerships, collaborations, and opportunities exist to expand partnerships and collaboration? And what communication tools and PR does the organization currently use? So does anybody have thoughts on that? So obviously we do our press releases with the newspaper. We have a good relationship with the newspaper. We do utilize social media, Facebook, Instagram. We do, it's not monthly, but we do a business newsletter to the businesses downtown. And so those are our main communication tools, but we also do emails to the businesses downtown, events, updates, opportunities, etc. And then, of course, just through our board, we have the directive report, which goes to the city commission as well. So those are the main things, and I think working with our consulting, not only for our fund development, but I think that's also going to improve our communication and how we go about our approach. And then we did just complete our case statement with Out of the Red, which I can tell you just from experience, I'm working on the grant application for a Match on Main grant for Hernandez Tacos, and that case statement has definitely helped with that and some language for that. So those are the communication tools that we're currently using. And as far as partnerships and collaborations, yeah, it is. I think we can improve on all of those, but we do partner with the chamber, we do partner with the city, the Small Business Development Center.
I think it's the private sector that I think stands up.
Yeah, and that's where
they're not to it.
Right. And my thoughts on that is I agree, we're not connected with the private sector. And the hope is doing this fund development with Canary and hopefully building those relationships. So, and the key for that is it's got to be board driven. I can't be the only one out there building those relationships. So any other thoughts?
If that's all the stuff that we're doing, then what would be the reason for that?
Because they need to, part of that is based off of our scores that we gave ourselves, but also they want to see, I think, the board, so, input on that. And that's something I think from previous meetings with Michigan Main Street, it's a lot of me talking, so they want to make sure that it's throughout. And this is a meeting that's designed to, there's no right or wrong answers. And the national accreditation standards don't go into effect for another year. So the goal of this is so that they can identify where we need to work on, what our weaknesses are, and they can come up with a plan to work with us so that we're achieving that.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
If this organization is planning on doing any significant fundraising or a fundraising event, which has been discussed, both golf, both dinner, dance sort of thing, this is the primary area that we are going to have to gain leverage within our community. We're going to have to find that group of 10 ambassadors that are going to join our, not join the board, but join us as board members to become our champions. I mentioned this a number of years ago about a group of ambassadors or, lighters or whatever title you want to put on it, but we do need to find and go out, and that relies on us to go out and try to capture. Can we get 10 people that can commit $1,000 in an annual pledge to the organization that are not board members, but that are community business owners that can then help us create a stronger foothold on our fundraising endeavors? It will only help when it comes to sponsorships, and whether it's a tea sponsor, a whole sponsor, or a specific event type sponsor that we are doing for a fundraising activity. But right now we are event driven with community-wide events that are great for getting people to our downtown. Now we have to move to the next step. And the next step is really about securing and building those relationships, and we suck at it, frankly. So we have got to get better. And I know it's hard to ask people. I know everybody comes at this at a different level of comfort about asking somebody for something, whether it be money or a pledge or a commitment to the organization, but we need to be able to articulate what it is that the DDA does and how it impacts our city as well as our county and our region. Because of our size and because of our location, we are sort of the big city. And what we do and present in our downtown, our historic downtown, has a significant impact. We're not going to be a vacation destination. We have to create the destination. And I think we're doing so in many good ways. But now we need to convince our partners. Well, we need to convince a partner, because we don't have that many.
Into that, is that point, should that kind of outreach to those partners, collaboration, should we be thinking just within the DDA itself, the boundaries, or citywide? So industrial park.
Yeah.
Countywide.
Partners can be anywhere.
Anywhere.
So, okay.
Yeah, you can get a partner in Europe.
I mean,
No boundaries.
because of our proximity to the rest of the area, it's a quality of life that we're also providing to their employees. So we could clearly go to one of the employers in the I won't say tech area, we don't have a tech area, the industrial parks. And we really do need to start making a plea to them of saying, look, what we're providing to your employees who live in the area is more quality of life, whether it's through the Center for the Arts or our events or any of the other organizations that are holding events that we are in support of. We are benefiting the quality of the employees' lives, and we have to get that message out there. And we've got a lot of longtime employers, Alvar, all of these industrial little pods that seem to just sort of have these employees and they don't have any connection to our downtown. Now's the time.
Do we have something together that we can take to them or show them what we're asking or what the benefit is to them?
Well, our case statement just got done.
Right, so that's part of what we've been working on throughout this year and focusing on with the consulting firm, with Canary, is putting together those asks, putting together the materials. We did put together our kind of ask to the organization committee to outline some recognitions that were connected to the events that we did downtown. And that can set the basis for an annual campaign. Like they can give to support what we're doing in the downtown, the acknowledgements on that are designed to go through the events that we've had. What we're working with Canary is identifying other sources of engagement or recognition. So not just through events, but maybe it's signage on the free little library, or a plaque downtown in the pocket park that can be updated, or engagement opportunities where maybe they come to one of our business owner meetups and we give a talk on best practices in banking, or whatever it might be. So looking at what those kind of engagement opportunities can be. And the key is going to be presenting that messaging. And so I think that carries over really to a lot of the different standards on here is going to be our messaging. And so I think it's important in acknowledging that, and acknowledging that needs to be our focus on telling our story, talking about what we've done, showing the support we've given the community, but then also why it's important. Those employers that are the big employers that might be the big givers, well, their employees, they want to live someplace where they enjoy. Yeah, giving them a nice paycheck is one of the things, but they want to also enjoy where they live, and that's where downtowns are important. That's where what we do are important. They're not going to raise their families here if their family is going to be completely miserable, right? So we enhance that quality of life. That's the messaging that we have out there.
And it doesn't have to be huge windfalls of money either, but if you have a commitment from an employer that they are doing a pledge of $5 per employee per year, and they have 100 employees, well, there's $500. That's not a lot, but if you times that times 15 businesses, then we're starting to build money. Then do the employees also, is there an incentive for them to match? It's sort of like building a campaign within a campaign, an employee charitable giving campaign, where maybe the employees are saying, well, for every dollar I put in, our employer will match it with $2. Or we need to start being creative with how we're financing some of these relationships and ask if we're really talking about cold hard cash, but also putting a tangible dollar amount on what the ask is. When ideally we'd love to be able to walk into KMAX and go, we want $10,000. And they say, thank you very much, here's our check. And they might if there's an attraction and a commitment. But I think there are also some small times we're gonna have to work it a little slow and steady, because a lot of these businesses have not contributed in the past.
So I think the key to this, and I don't think the full board is aware of some of the work the organization committee's done over the last year and a half. And that, we put together this case statement, and that's a fancy way of saying that this is our pitch, okay? We go out, we've got that coming. We've set up parameters and a schedule for sponsorship giving. We haven't had all the tools to get out there and look for this money. But I think what everybody needs to be aware of is all of a sudden this is all going to be put together by our past efforts and by our efforts through Canary, however you pronounce it. But we have to have more people than just the organization committee to do this. We've got to have commitment from the full board to sit down and say, okay, here's our possibilities. Pick some names off a list, or come up with names that that you can pitch. And I think everybody's going to have at least 5 names and make the commitment to go out there and do the ask. And I think you're going to have really good tools between our case statement, the information that Canary's going to give us, and the donor levels that we put together. I think you're going to have a really nice little roadmap to be able to say, here's who we are, here's what we need, here's what we do, send us some money. So,
and in addition to that case statement, we will have our annual impact report that we can use, and that really is designed to show the impact that we have on the community. But real quick, in your packets is the partnership material that I'm working on with Canary too. So this is a little bit different than like the sponsorship one where it's tied into the events. This is more like a larger partnership opportunities.
So is it something maybe we can require everyone submit like 5 to 10 businesses, make sure there's no overlap and asking the same person, and then they all have to go out and.
That might be a good function of something to do at the retreat.
We did
Yeah.
that through the board committee.
Yeah, the org committee put
committee
together a good list. I think the key is identifying who knows who on that list, because those are really the people that should be approaching that you're comfortable with, or you already have that relationship. So you can make those asks.
Yeah.
I'll just interject that one of the things that, because that's awesome, but in my short time of being part of this board, I don't know how effective we can talk about it, but I don't know how effective we'll be to actually go out and make those asks. And I still think that, and I voiced this in the board committee, is the best approach is going to be a single event with all of those people there, with the ask being made, and then a follow-up to that. Better for Jim to present once than for Jim to have to present 20 to 50 times.
Well, the key is that Jim is not the presenter.
I think that it's got to be a combination. I think he needs to speak. I think he's the best one to speak to what it is that he's been able to accomplish through his team. But I think that we need to have other business owners who have benefited from that impact to come in and also speak to what he's done. You know, we can all sit here and say that we're a big impact on it. We're small beans in what he and his team are accomplishing. So I do think that it's a benefit for Jim to get up and speak. I also think that it provides a benefit to more of the community members to understand what the DDA does, who the DDA is, and how important it is to maintain Jim in this community for when we go to the city and ask for those asks, or if we've got the sheriff's department coming in and saying, don't take what's rightfully yours, right? After we've already budgeted for it to be there, which obviously we're going to get to. But I think it's important that we put those players all in the same room and we present it to them, and then we ask for more money so that we can continue to grow and continue to get better. It's going to be easier to follow up with them if we do it that way, I think, which is my opinion. I could be wrong.
Well, I agree. I think it is a combination effort. And we talked about the organization and the about doing a big event like that. I do think though, when you're out there in front of somebody, I think the best way, in my opinion, the best way to get them engaged and understand why it's important is to talk about why it's important to you. You know, like why does the downtown matter to you? Talk about, you know, your connection to it. That's where you're going to get them. I mean, you can go through like bullet points and data and stats, and that's great, and they'll appreciate that. But they really want to see that person
Be
be
emotional to speak.
What's in it for me?
I think Mike's right, though, that getting everyone in one place to do a presentation almost, and then have individuals follow up with people and do that one-on-one.
I think in an ideal world, that's a wonderful thought. The reality is it's not going to happen. So the reality is we all need to be prepared to give our elevator speech or our speech and our statement on the organization and its impact. We've got many things going for us. We are an underserved community. We're economically challenged. And that's a word that they're striking from some of the vocabulary of. But the reality is we are. And so when we talk about the revitalization of our historic downtown and the accomplishments that we have, those are things that we should be prideful for. And we should be able to articulate how, you know, what it is and what is happening and how many people are coming in. I mean, Jill is a testament right now with the number of people that she's getting through her doors presently with the shows that she's been presenting. That's amazing, frankly.
I guess I would challenge the statement that it can't or won't happen. Why?
When you, I wouldn't count on it. When you look at everyone's schedule and business owners and their commitment right now that they have none to this organization at this present time, it is going to take the one-on-one approach until there is a connection. Then you will be able to get them in a room and then raise the dollar amount. But we have no connections. We really don't.
No, I agree.
I think Bailey has a lot of connections. I'm sure he has a lot of connections. I know I have connections.
That's what I'm saying. Individually, we all have
You
connections.
do.
But I don't think that means that we're gonna get everybody at a big,
You may not get
At a
everybody,
mixer
but
or
you can
something.
start.
I think if you do like a personal invitation, whether it's email or phone call, and kind of pitching your story and inviting them to this event, and I think we could get a lot of people in the room and sharing the story further from there. And if it has a benefit to their business too, people are always interested in growing and sponsoring and doing things like that. So I think it could work.
Well, we're working on the event itself at the organization committee, so. Trying to come up with something that would work.
So with the
I feel like we're
conversations that
making
we just
as
had,
good a stride on that event as we are on this contract.
Pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
so with the conversation we just had, that touches base on a lot of the self-assessment. So those are the kind of things to talk about on Friday on that phone call.
Well, we're kind of running out of time here, and everybody needs to review this.
Right, and that's why I'm not gonna spend.
Well, I'm just wondering, well, my question is that, like, the Michigan Main Street comments, are they gonna ask that as a question?
Yeah,
Is that what we need to address?
yes,
So when we go through here, that's what we're gonna be talking about.
Yep.
And then the meeting standard, some say no, some say yes, no. What does yes, no
we're right on the fence.
Well, mean? Okay.
So, no.
All right.
Wait a minute.
What else you got, Jim?
All right, so other things just to touch base on, again, go through that packet, you look at those, and between now and Friday, if you have questions, shoot me an email, give me a phone call, text,
What time is that again?
what's that?
What time again?
10 o'clock, yep. I did send one email out with this attached to it and also with a meeting invite. I will send that again after the meeting so that everybody has it. It is through Microsoft Teams. I will be in my office, and so if anybody isn't comfortable jumping on Teams or doing the virtual thing, you can stop into my office and I'll have the computers open and running and going that route too, if that makes it easier for you to access it. Other things, so next week, Thursday, Friday, I will be in Muskegon for the Michigan Downtown Association Annual Conference. Taking place over there, so I will not be in the office here, obviously, as well. And then I mentioned, you kind of touched base on it, but I am working on a Match on Main grant with Hernandez Tacos for their potential space down next to corner of Medicine and Saginaw Street, down there. And then the last thing that you should see in my report too is we are working with Canary to put together an annual letter to go out, looking for that yearly give just from the community as well. So we hope to have the draft completed before our organization committee meeting. And Mary from Canary will join us for that meeting. And then they also hope to be here at our November meeting as well to work with the board also.
Okay, next item on the agenda, county law enforcement millage capture. I think pretty much everybody was here last month when they made their pitch. Oh, you were
I
not?
missed it,
Okay.
but I was told about it.
Oh,
It was riveting.
riveting is
It
correct.
was riveting.
Riveting. And you got a letter from the law enforcement people in regards to that capture, requesting that we don't capture.
We get very little money from, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, my opinion is, in the grand scheme of how much money they got from that millage to utilize for law enforcement, and for the little bit that we're gonna capture, we have so little revenue as it is. My opinion is that we should be capturing it.
Sets a
So that's my opinion.
precedent to
Well,
exempt.
we made a motion and we passed a motion that said we were going to capture.
Oh, I didn't know you actually did that.
Yep.
Okay,
And-
I'm
and-
sorry.
Well,
No,
we were gonna
no,
capture
not-
all
no.
millages.
No.
Oh, not just recently, you didn't do it last month.
Right.
Okay, you're right, I knew we had done that,
A
yes.
couple years ago, and the county is aware of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this wasn't a secret. And, you know, I totally agree with Catherine, and, you know, we've already made that motion, but to me, the worst thing would be is if we're gonna try to pick and choose whose money we're gonna capture and whose we're not,
Yeah.
we're gonna be a pretty unpopular
Right.
little body here, so.
Yeah.
What did I hear, was it from you, Jim, was it like, was this, with that money, is that about 13,000?
A little bit over
Right.
13.
So they would anticipate getting just under 5 million from this millage. we would capture just over 13,000, which would be about 0.2 to 0.3%.
I was trying to get some information from Kim, and if they really needed that 13,000, they could increase their ask by 1/100th of a mil and covered it.
They could have come here before the millage and
Or
talked to
come
us.
before,
too.
yeah. And I think what's interesting is that a senior millage passed at the same time, which we're gonna capture, and we haven't heard anything from them, so. And the last comment I would make is that when we were not capturing, one of the main reasons that I heard we were not capturing was this has to be on the ballot, and it'd be harder to pass these millages if this language was on the ballot. And all three that we've captured, the millages have passed without any problem at all, so.
So because we have the previous motion that we passed, we don't have to do anything, right? We're just,
Well, we have the policy, but I think the letter is requesting, I think you need to make a motion
Yeah, I guess.
for the letter.
So I'd look for that motion.
I'll make a motion to capture the millage owed.
Just to capture the.
To capture the law enforcement
funds.
millage fund.
Yeah.
support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is board vacancy. We have, I'm sorry, board retreat. Jim?
So last year, we met with Lee Young to do a retreat with the board of directors. I think it is a very good idea to continue to do that and do that again. Lee is available and willing to come and lead that conversation, help facilitate the conversation again. So I would like to get a date on the calendar for that. Have looked at, discussed a couple of locations, looking at the new Flint Public Library as a location. Or we could also, work with Studio 21 down in Lake Orion again. I think it's nice to be outside of our downtown, just to kind of get some fresh perspectives and creative ideas and some good conversation.
They have a Flint Public Library.
Yep.
It's
Beautiful.
part of their cultural arts center that's the really makes a great work there.
Okay, well, that would be nice.
So I need to call them and check as far as availability goes.
So are you looking at January?
So January or February, because we want to make sure that it's far enough in advance that we can look at our programming and then factor that into our budget for next year.
January is going to be much better for me to get in the show season.
So like an all-day Saturday.
So it would be most of like a half day. So last year we started in the morning and we were done by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Would there ever be any opportunity for us to meet with the Flint DDA after our retreat, or even if it's a walking tour of what they are doing or how their funding is going on? I mean, while they're close, and I know some of us travel in there, their DDA has actually done some decent things. I mean, the traffic is picking up. It might be just interesting to see what they've done well and what they haven't.
Yeah, I can reach out to them and
She's
see if we
not
can
the
propose
most
something.
receptive, but
I can still reach out. Doesn't hurt to ask.
yes. I mean, they do have EV stations. They do have, parking issues and things that they have gone through. They also have a large foundation that helps them as well. It would be nice to have the Mott Foundation in our backyard providing millions of dollars in business development. However, it might be nice to see some of their bells and whistles.
So
Other downtowns that we're trying to catch them for too, and Marine City and Port Huron.
I thought Port
I'll
Huron,
take a visit for us.
Port Huron's really, but Flint in the last 10, 15 years has really done a complete 180 almost.
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm open to Port Huron. I think the key is we want to keep it around an hour drive. I think at the most, just to make it manageable so that it can be done as an easy day retreat.
The only negative that I would have on Flint is that I think that we might want to, that we maybe should be looking at a community that's similar in size and scale to us. Owasso comes to mind.
So the other place I thought about was Owasso. They have the Armory, which wasn't an old armory. They've transitioned into a co-working space right in their downtown, right along the river near the Arts Center, and kind of adjacent to the core Main Street area. And it's got a beautiful conference room. So that could be an option too. It would probably be easier to set up if we wanted to do a tour and talk about the downtowns.
I think there's
They
just more
are-
similarities.
They are Main
Demographic
Street
wise and
community.
size.
So I could reach out to Beth and put that together too, if everybody's comfortable driving to Owasso.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy drive.
It is.
Mhm.
Okay, then I'll pursue that route first. A Saturday in January. Lee is not available January 7th or January 14th. So we'd be looking at the 21st or the 20th.
21st.
That's fine.
So are we, it's a Friday?
Saturday.
Oh, I'm in October, good lord, okay, there we are.
Anybody that can't do the 21st? Okay.
What time was it gonna start? 9?
I think we started at 8 last year.
8, okay.
Yeah, and then like I said, we finished around between noon and 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. All right, are you gonna send out an email then regarding that date?
Yes, I will send out an invite to the email. I will make sure it's still good with Lee. And then I will confirm with that over in Owasso.
Maybe we should put into that, Jim, is time to allow us to do a little walk around quickly, just to see their community, whether it's with a DDA member or just by ourselves, a self-tour.
I mean, we should be looking at their public art, their public spaces, the presentation spaces, businesses, how they've developed or.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just
I can even
process.
see, in addition to a tour, I can see if Beth would be willing to.
The presentation. That'd be fantastic.
Does
Since
Owasso
how it's
have an
January,
EV
we
station?
might wanna
Doesn't
think about
Have
a driving
EV stations
tour.
in Owasso?
I don't know.
What was the question?
Does Owasso have EV stations?
I don't think they do.
I'm just wondering.
I'm not sure.
Hi, Catherine.
Okay, next item, was there anything else?
That is.
That's it. Good. Next item, board vacancy. We have an additional board vacancy as of this morning. Jenny has dropped out of the DDA. So we have 2 vacancies, and ironically, we have 2 applications for those vacancies. One is Buddy Byer, and I'm sure most of you know Buddy, Byer's Furniture. The other one is Tom LaMagna. And if you don't know Tom is a significant stakeholder in downtown here. So I think, my personal opinion, we've got people that fill a huge need. Number one, a board vacancy, but number 2, they're connected with downtown with either owning property or business in downtown. So that really gives us a little bit of wiggle room in the future as far as board members. So what I'd like is a motion to recommend to the city that they approve these board members in a second, and then we can discuss it from there.
I'll move that we send their applications to the city for approval.
Support?
Move to support. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
I can tell you, Buddy did reach out to me, and we sat down and had lunch, and went through the different roles, responsibility of the DDA. And I think he has a genuine interest in wanting to be involved down here, and I think he can bring a lot to the table. And then Tom LaMagna, I've been working with, as well as his partners, throughout dating back to last year, with some of their projects in the downtown area, the fire site, but also the Opera House, and the Whetstone Building, as well. Tom has been a very involved, property owner in the downtown area.
Of course, Buddy has made it clear that he's not crazy about a lot of downtown street closings.
He did, but at the same time, when we chat, he also made it very clear that that's not the reason he's interested. He actually let me know he's been interested for a few years, but he wanted to make sure the timing was right, because he wanted to make sure he can commit to the requirements. with the understanding that it is a working board, and so it is going to take some.
Have you spoken with Tom at all about his opinion?
We did talk briefly over the phone. We haven't talked it as much depth, but I will definitely be reaching out to him similar to as we did and then go through the process and expectations.
I can't tell you how excited he was when I talked to him about that fire site. And he is just so positive about downtown, that project, and he said, another big one coming too, and I'll talk to you later about that one. But he's, like you said, he's really vested, he really cares, has some ideas, some outside the box stuff too that I didn't even think about. He said, great, bring it on. I mean, it's really got some energy with him too. So he was very good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, board member comments. Do you have any comments?
I do have one update. Jill had a baby girl on Friday morning. Her name is Lindy Rose. So she'll obviously be out of the office for a few months. She's thinking about January as far as when she would come back to work, but obviously we're going to kind of play that game. That's her plan right now.
Have we sent them anything on behalf of our board?
We haven't done anything as far as the board goes. I could do.
We should send her something or the child something on behalf of the DDA board.
Any suggestions?
Diapers.
I was just gonna say,
I don't have children, so I don't know what kids need other than diapers.
Oh, I think that's probably would be a welcome. I have not had kids obviously either, but from the conversations I've had, it's definitely.
Oh, yeah.
They get very young, Target, you have some, everything for either. I guess my mother.
it'd be nice to see us utilize one of our businesses downtown.
Was it Cream has, I know that she has some good stuff, and then this,
I might have a few things, but you're right, I know Cream.
Just to, if we can, if we create a basket of sorts, maybe it has a gift card for Meyer or whatever in it, but if we can create something, maybe Sam, she does great baskets, like a mommy's care package or something.
yeah,
You
she
want to
does.
approve a budget for that?
Huh?
You want to approve a budget for that?
I don't know how much.
She's an employee that's on maternity leave that we would like to see return.
I'll pitch in $20 or something. I mean,
Is that even enough?
I don't know how many people we've got.
How many board members do we have? 11?
We're back up to 13.
We're back up to 13. So $250 budget?
That should be fun.
I think that's a nice.
$250 budget on something like that, and if any of the board members want to contribute a push gift towards that, that would be nice. Appreciated.
Okay.
Jim will be reaching out for your checks.
Good.
Yeah, and I'll attach a photo of the baby too. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can see it.
No other comments? So correspondence, I don't believe we have any, so I look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
What I do now. Honestly, God, I know.
You're done.
I was finally got there.
I love when I do it.
Why didn't somebody say it?
Why did somebody say
So-
Okay. Some has methods. I don't know, like, I help, you know. No. It's like, you know, you need to be like, now if we're up to my room, I will have to get remote off my back.
Yeah, we're going to see, like, officially, like, new furniture.
Yeah.
When I retire, I will
because we don't.
3 years. I'll be around here. It's 2 hours.
And then I just kind of wondering if we can ask him, you know, what grants do they access?
Oh, look at that. I can't have 2.
Yes.
So I have a full-time place on it.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's
my plan.
ideal.
I have your been to any with them.
Yeah, or at least I haven't gone to.
Yeah.
Right now, they want to work here.
Like Port Huron.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to.
I know.
And then, oh, we got electric, let's go.
We also do
Right.
I haven't been able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Jim had the city. I don't know what the.
Are you taking
At this point,
Yeah.
we can open.
When the last, they were in, we saw Holland. Yeah, it's crazy.
You might, you might not want to.
Exactly.
It might be more cost effective for us to buy a private and go through a broker.
No.
I know when I was
Oh, yeah.
with the Portland, and I was there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to say, when you say.
I
like,
was
Yeah.
That's a very.
Yeah.
I like your mom.
Yes.
How's your grandma doing? I didn't get.
No, he was on this.
She's
Anyway,
good. Yeah, she's back to like.
it was cheaper for us to literally buy
For
a
the lunches
package
that are
that
hanging out and stuff and then starting.
was, that was the like.
She's really covered from her.
Then other supervisor from Lincoln.
So.
And so it was a cheaper rate.
So I'm gonna be at,
Yeah.
on the first.
I can figure that out.
Showing up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, that I didn't fail, like,
Had a ballpark price.
And then you were. I didn't get a chance to ask her that. All right, see ya.
Gotta get my dad.
He's
He's a medical alternative, so there's not. They build like so good.
And then like all this,
I know.
and especially like
Yeah,
it's like listing things and then our. Yeah. He's got over.
Yeah.
I saw it too, yeah.
No,
He's fine.
I don't care if it's good, I just need to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing is somebody Jeff, can you?
Yeah, just wanted to check that.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything, it's still.
Your mom, no, I don't know.
And so the Jerry told me, like,
I will be on Friday, I will do my.
This is your
I'm
grandma.
new, so,
Yeah,
so I don't want to be.
It's not
Yeah, she's like,
pulling money
like,
from the
house, right?
entire counties, that the only money that they pulls from are the percentage of the, that percentage of the money
Hey, what do
coming
you need,
from
And I know so many people.
the businesses and the DDA district specifically. Because what happened with EMS.
Other than that, we're leaving the rest of this
That we
the way
were
it is.
capturing,
Talk about the chairs. Yeah, just stack them
the entire millage.
But when I
That's
was
not
I
really the
remember
case.
parents.
And so I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for us to identify where
And
we're
they
going to
would go
try
do
to
something
save
for dinner at the end.
so that we could then just say, look, we're trying to
And-
participate.
Okay, so like to be
protect our
able to do
investment
something
that-
like
that the
utilizing it
sheriffs have worked so
downtown,
long
getting
and hard to
businesses
help us
involved,
protect.
but making it like.
I don't know.
You can do that.
Is that feasible?
So, yeah, I agree with that, right? And that's really something we have to flesh out more.
Quite frankly, I mean, I know some good conversations, I kind of got this a lot. We've got some kind of cool ideas and how to. Obviously, we're
Right.
It's really unfair. And, you know, some variety, taking their money.
Well,
It's not
EMS did
gonna
the same thing.
We're barely keeping it like.
Well, and the one thing though, is I saw John Rose at city commission, that we were basically told, look, you guys gotta figure out how to get your own line.